Have you ever asked yourself, what gives you the right to life and what makes you a human being? The argument of abortion has been heavily centered around whether a human being is a life at the point of conception and what exactly makes a human being. This heavily debated quandary in our society today has never quite been agreed on in this informative reading by Patrick Lee and Robert P. George. They might have found maybe some insight or truth or an answer to these dilemmas. Um, in their writing, The Wrong of Abortion, they feel that a fetus is a human being through every single stage of the pregnancy, and they reiterate this throughout their entire writing. And that's going to lead us into our first point that they make, which is very heavily dwelled on. Our first main idea of Robert P. George and Patrick Lee in their writing The Wrong of Abortion, we can see that they like to really push that a human being is a human being from the point of conception and throughout the entire pregnancy. And this is because that even though they're inside of a single parent, the mother, the cells from the father and the cells from the mother create a completely different organism with its own set of DNA that is not the same as the mother or not exactly the same as the father, thus making it its own distinct, even though not very developed being. So that's why they argue that it is a human being the entire time from the point of conception, even the very start, just because purely the fact that there is two sets of DNA from a mother and a father that are very distinct, and once they mix, there is no way to differentiate that. It is just the mother, just the father. It's its own thing. So that's why they believe that a human being is a human being through the entire pregnancy stages and fertilization process, and as a fetus, no matter what stage that is. They continue to reiterate this in their quote. The case of ordinary sexual reproduction, the life of an individual human being begins with the complete fertilization, which yields a genetically and functionally distinct organism. So that just once again is a short passage from the reading that reiterates what they're trying to say there in some more clear terms. Considering that the authors of The Wrongs of Abortion, Patrick Lee and Robert P. George, do believe that a fetus is a human being throughout the entire stage of pregnancy, that leads us into their next point, that they refute the claim of no person's argument, which is a pro-choice argument, which claims that persons becomes persons instead of just plain old human beings, as they are self-aware and rational. And they refute this claim, saying that we are not actually conscious human beings that take up, I guess, the space of a mother, but are rather our own living entities, no matter how complex or not, because we do have our own set of DNA. It doesn't matter if we have a sense of rationality or self-consciousness. They're trying to say that we are rather alive, and so that with all that being said, they would like to say that the claim of no persons is false, and they do not support that argument whatsoever, that there is a certain point in which a human being becomes a person's. Leading off the claim that Robert P. George and Patrick Lee do not agree with the no persons argument, that we have to reach a certain point of self-consciousness or rationality to become a human being or a person's, is further led into their second point, which is they have another problem with the argument of no person, in which that they believe that we don't have to reach like a certain attribute or acquire a certain skill to be classified as a human being, because it is a sacred thing just to be a life itself, and we've already basically gotten that achievement just by being here, just by being. So I found a really good quote by them that really reiterates that our position is that we human beings have a special kind of value that makes us subjects to of rights and virtue that of what we are, not in virtue of some attribute that we acquire. So that kind of just reiterates what they're trying to say there is we don't need to reach a certain goal or point or place of consciousness to be considered a person or a human being. They believe that every single person is alive the entire time. The last claim that the authors make is that abortion is not justified as an unintentional killing, kind of going against the double doctrine effect that unintentionally killing the child is justifiable in circumstances basically to better the mother, or in the cases of her health, like if it were to harm her, if she had cervical cancer during the pregnancy, or any way that the mother's life couldn't be fruitfully lived on if she were to bear this child. They don't completely refute this claim, but argue with it rather that the majority of abortions are rather not unintentional but intentional killings. There's not a large majority of abortions, they claim, that are unintentional killings. Most of the time it is mothers or fathers convincing mothers to plan and actually follow through with abortions, rather because of either being a burden of a parent or financial burden, or so be it, rather than actually unintentionally killing the child because it could actually hurt the mother, and they feel that that is just further fueling the okayness in society for people to get intentional abortions rather than unintentionally killing the child to save the mother. In conclusion, it seems that the authors of The Wrong of Abortion, Robert P. George and Patrick Lee, somewhat subscribe to natural law theory, even though they don't directly state it in their writing. And they strongly stand by the fact that a fetus is and holds the same rights as a human being that is fully developed throughout the entire stage of pregnancy, even though they do offer some pro-choice sentiment in the terms of the double doctrine effect. It is sometimes okay to get an abortion if it is unintentional and for the betterment of the mother's health, to save her, basically. And so after hearing their arguments, has anyone's stances changed? Does anyone feel differently about their take on abortion? And if so, or if not, do you know what defines a human being? What makes a human being, and what is deserving of life? Thank you.